This episode is intended to help you understand this up and down emotional roller coaster. It's intended to help normalize that experience and help you see that you're not the only one experiencing it. It's terrifying because even though I'm capable of more because I've seen it, I haven't fully stepped into it. I'm not actually there yet. I'm halfway there. I have half realized potential. Knowing that you endured that, knowing that you got to the other end of that will make you feel so mother effing strong and resilient.
Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jess. I'm the host and creator of the Art of Speaking Up podcast, and I'm a coach for women. I am here to help you feel confident and unstoppable and super powerful in your corporate career. And I'm here to help you become a leader. And today's episode is all about the process of building confidence and all about the process of crossing that finish line to get to the level of confidence that you desire. This episode is for you if you feel like you're stuck in the messy middle of building confidence, where you've made some progress and you have moments of breakthrough and you have wins, but it's inconsistent and it feels a bit like an emotional roller coaster where one day you might have a big win and be on a big high and be thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm growing, I'm changing, I'm evolving, I can totally do this, I can reach for my dreams, I can become the woman and leader that I want to be. But then other days, things don't go as well. You get stuck, an obstacle comes up, you fall into self-doubt and you can't get yourself out of it. And all of a sudden, that emotional high becomes an emotional low. And you think to yourself, wow, I feel a little bit silly for thinking that I could actually do this and thinking I was making progress. Look at how I failed in that meeting or in that stakeholder interaction. And this up and down experience can give you a form of emotional whiplash. It can be quite exhausting to go from having a win one day to really struggling the next day. And that up and down experience can really interfere with the depth of your commitment to your confidence building process, because it is so challenging to be in that messy middle phase where sometimes you have wins and sometimes you have fails. Because of how tiring and energetically demanding that can be, sometimes the intensity of that experience makes you think, maybe I should just give up on this entirely. Maybe I should stop dreaming. Maybe I should stop reaching for more, because if I stop dreaming and I stop reaching for more, at least I get off of this emotional roller coaster where one day I believe it's possible for me and I'm feeling amazing about myself. And then the next day I'm feeling not great at all and super pessimistic. This episode is intended to help you understand this up and down emotional roller coaster. It's intended to help normalize that experience and help you see that you're not the only one experiencing it. And more importantly, this episode is intended to motivate you to keep pushing past it, because that messy middle of confidence building, where some days you're on a high and some days you're on a low, that messy middle can be incredibly difficult to get through. But if you can push through it and if you can endure and last through it, you really can achieve permanent growth in your self-confidence and permanent growth in how strong and solid you feel inside. And today's episode is intended to provide you with the wisdom, knowledge, and motivation that you need to keep pushing through the messy middle so you can cross the finish line and build that deep confidence that you desire. I am so excited to dive into this because I love talking about the deeper inner work. And before I go too deep into today's episode, I have a super exciting time-sensitive announcement, which is that applications for my signature program, the Art of Speaking Up Academy, are opening next week. So if you are listening to this episode the week that it's out, that will be next week. If you're listening to this episode a little bit late, just know that it is the week of March 10th on the calendar. The Art of Speaking Up Academy is my signature program. It is the main way that I currently support my clients, and it is a guided, live, intimate, small group coaching program where I support you and a tight-knit cohort of similar professional women in doing the inner work of building deep, lasting confidence and doing the professional development work of learning how to communicate at an executive level and having a stronger executive presence in the room. The Art of Speaking Up Academy is a curriculum-based program. It is taught live by me. In addition to the live sessions, we also have a private online community where you get to stay connected with your cohort in between the sessions. The private online community is also a place where you can ping me anytime for personalized help and support. And when you're in the academy, you will go through the 4 phases of my curriculum, which are 1, confidence building, 2, growing your executive presence, 3, learning the foundations of executive communication, and 4, mastering the art of assertiveness in a way that's authentic. If you are ready to elevate your communication skills, but you want your voice to be fueled by a deeper sense of self-confidence, and you want to go beyond the surface level tactical communication advice, and you want to do that deeper work to feel strong and capable from the inside out, this is the program for you. You can learn more by clicking the link in the show notes or going to jessguzik.com/academy, where I encourage you to add yourself to the waitlist so that you are notified on March 10th when applications open. I will also put my email in the show notes so that if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I am so excited to get started with the next couple cohorts of this program. And with that, I am so excited to dive deep into today's episode, which is all about this commonly missed ingredient when it comes to reaching your full potential and building really big confidence and learning to feel really, really strong inside. And this is something that I refer to as getting caught in the land of half-realized potential. If that sounds a bit unfamiliar to you, by the end of today's episode, this phrase will make sense because I'm going to be explaining to you what I mean by the land of half-realized potential. So, when we think about and talk about this idea of realizing our full potential, we often think about it in a binary. We think I'm either not realizing my full potential or I am realizing my full potential. And often we have a thought process that sounds something like, right now, I am not realizing my full potential, and I would like to be realizing my full potential. And we think about it as a switch from one thing to something completely different. And often we sometimes struggle or we get stuck on our journey to try to make this switch. And one of the reasons this happens is because us being at our full potential or not being at our full potential typically isn't a binary in the way that we're thinking about it. It's typically not this situation where I'm either not realizing my potential or I am realizing my full potential. What I see most often, especially with the professional women who are attracted to my podcast and who are attracted to the work that I do as a coach, is that their potential is partially realized. They have half-realized potential. And we rarely talk about our potential in that way. We usually think about it and talk about it as either I'm not realizing my full potential or I am realizing my full potential. But you will rarely hear someone say, oh, I'm halfway to realizing my potential, or my potential is half realized, or I'm experiencing a lot of half-realized potential. And it is the awareness that half-realized potential is a thing, and that there is an actual halfway point, a midpoint on the journey of not at all reaching our potential to completely reaching our potential, that actually equips us to make it to the end of that journey. Because half-realized potential is the point in the journey towards our full potential where we are most likely to give up and fail. This is why it's so important to have an awareness that this is a phase in the process, and an awareness that there is such a thing as your potential being half realized or partially realized. It reminds me of when people say you can't be half pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. And we often think of potential in that way, right? Like you're either not reaching your potential or you are reaching your potential. But in the case of potential, you can be half pregnant. You can be halfway there. And the key in you building the confidence you want and reaching that point where you feel like you're firing on all cylinders, you're bringing all of your power and leadership to the table. For you to get to that point, it's important to understand why half-realized potential often keeps us stuck and prevents us from fully realizing our potential. That's what I'm going to be walking you through in today's episode. And the first thing that I'm going to do is define the different places along the spectrum of reaching your potential. I'm going to define what it means and what it looks like to not be realizing your potential at all. Then I'm going to talk about what it's like to be realizing your full potential and be 100% firing on all cylinders. And then I'm going to explain what it means to be in the middle, what it means to have half-realized potential. Because if I had to take a guess, I would say the majority of people listening to this podcast are probably going to fall in the bucket of half-realized potential. That's why it's so important that we talk about it. Okay, so what does it mean when your potential is completely unrealized? When your potential is completely unrealized, you are not at all tapping into the deeper capabilities that you have. You're not thinking that maybe you're capable of more. You're thinking that you aren't capable of more. You're thinking that other people are more capable than you. You really don't believe that you are highly talented. You don't believe that you have more to offer. And because you don't believe those things are true, you're not really making efforts to demonstrate those things. You're not making efforts to stretch yourself, right? Because if we don't believe that we can stretch ourselves, if we don't believe that we even have that ability, we wouldn't try. That would be a waste of energy. So some examples of what it might look like to have unrealized potential is when you go into a meeting and you don't even engage your mind in the question of what can I contribute in this meeting. You go into the meeting assuming that you will be silent, you have no intention to speak, and therefore the stakes feel really low. So when your potential is unrealized, the stakes don't feel high because you're not trying to bring anything daring and courageous to the table. So I remember in the beginning of my 9-to-5 career when I worked at McKinsey, I was really struggling with confidence. And I remember I would go into meetings thinking, I am not here to speak in this meeting. I'm not going to contribute anything. I am not going to help people move this question forward. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to take great notes. I'm going to listen really, really well. And that was me experiencing completely unrealized potential. It didn't even occur to me that maybe I had something to offer, which actually meant that these meetings at first weren't super stressful for me because when we have unrealized potential, we're in our comfort zone. We're not even thinking of speaking up or stretching ourselves or anything like that because we don't think we're capable. We don't think that's an option for us. We don't think that's on the table for us. So in a way, the stakes are very, very low because we don't expect ourselves to do anything difficult. So some signs that you are experiencing completely unrealized potential is that you're not thinking at all about how you could add more, how you could stretch yourself, how you could be part of the conversation. You don't feel heightened stakes. It doesn't feel that stressful. You're not really challenging yourself. This is what it's like to have completely unrealized potential. It doesn't even occur to you that you can step up and lead, that there's more that you can offer. Now, let's go all the way to the other side of the spectrum, realized potential. Realized potential is when you are tapping in to all of your gifts and talents. So you see yourself as a highly capable leader in the room. You are challenging yourself to be a part of the conversation. You are taking up space. You are leading. And when you are realizing your full potential, it's not that it always feels easy. You're still stretching yourself. You're still pushing yourself to take up space. But it's kind of like going to the gym when you're already in really good physical shape. It's still hard. You still have to push yourself, but you experience a sense of ease in pushing yourself, a sense of competence in knowing how to stretch yourself, how to do hard things. So operating at your full potential and having fully realized potential, it doesn't mean it's so easy and you're making zero effort, but it means that the effort that you're exerting to speak up, to be a leader in the room, to have a really strong presence, that effort feels doable and natural, and it feels like a stretch that you can stretch into. And as a result, it feels very satisfying and fulfilling. You get the satisfaction of accomplishing something hard, but doable. And that's one of the most satisfying places for us to be, where we're not stagnating, right? It's not boring. We're still challenging ourselves, but it's hard enough that it's interesting, that it's satisfying, that we feel a sense of reward. So when you're realizing your full potential, there might be some pressure that you feel. You might have some moments where it feels scary or difficult, but you're able to handle it. You're able to show up for it. And then afterwards, you feel really proud. So you feel proud of the fact that you were able to lead and speak and show up powerfully, even though it was difficult. That is you realizing your full potential. Now, what people don't talk about, and what is extremely important to talk about, is the idea of half-realized potential. There's a very good chance that this is the bucket that you're in. Half-realized potential means you're somewhere in the middle of unrealized potential and realized potential. So when your potential is half-realized, you have some moments of breakthrough where you believe you can do it, you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, you achieve wins here and there. So maybe you do speak in a meeting where typically you might have been quiet. Maybe you are able to really successfully answer a difficult question that you get asked by a stakeholder. But you have moments where you actually are experiencing the version of you who has realized their potential. However, those moments are inconsistent. That's not always the situation. Sometimes you're able to speak up powerfully and show up powerfully, and other times you're not. Other times you don't succeed at speaking up, or you aren't able to handle the pressure or handle the question in the way that you want to. This is the land of half-realized potential. And I think something that people don't think about or realize when it comes to half-realized potential is that this is one of the most difficult places to be, because this is where the stakes are the highest and where the emotional experience is the most volatile. When we're on the far ends of the spectrum, if your potential is completely unrealized or completely realized, there is less emotional volatility on those farther ends of the spectrum. So when your potential is unrealized, there's less emotional volatility because you're not challenging yourself at all. You don't expect yourself to show up bigger. In a way, you are content showing up small because you don't realize that you have more to give. And on the other side of the spectrum, when your potential is fully realized and you are showing up big and bold and like a leader, it's also less emotionally volatile because you're experienced and proficient at navigating these challenging situations. So yes, it's hard, but remember, I said it's like going to the gym when you're in shape. It's hard, but you're not going to be sore for 7 days after. And so the experience isn't as intense and it isn't as much of an emotional roller coaster as half-realized potential. Because with half-realized potential, you have all the stakes that come with moving out of unrealized potential, because now all of a sudden, there are possibilities on the table. Now, all of a sudden, there are stakes. When your potential is completely unrealized and you're thinking that you're just not capable of more, there are no stakes. You have nothing to lose. You're at that bottom level. But when your potential is half realized, all of a sudden, there's this future idea of who you could be that has entered into the chat, that is on the table, that is available to you. And the idea of not attaining that or losing that becomes scarier and more painful. It is much scarier and much more uncertain to think about the version of us who we could become when we are halfway there to becoming that version. It is scarier and more uncertain when we're at the halfway point than when we're at the zero starting line and we have unrealized potential and we haven't made any progress at all. And this is because as soon as we get in the game and as soon as we start realizing maybe there's more inside of us, and as soon as we start tapping into that potential, all of a sudden, disappointment and failure are now on the table. Because when I'm in unrealized potential and I don't think I'm capable of anything, I can never really disappoint myself. I've already assumed that I'm going to stagnate and that I'm going to stay stuck. So I have nothing to lose. If I fail to achieve my full potential, I'm not going to feel disappointed because I was never expecting that in the first place. But once I start to take steps to tap into my full potential, I now have knowledge that I cannot erase from my mind, which is that there is more in me. There is more in me than I thought was in me before I challenged myself, before I stepped out into testing whether I do have more potential. And now that I know that there's more in me, I can never truly mentally go back to unrealized potential because I know that that was all a lie. I know it was a lie that I don't have anything to contribute, that I can't be a powerful, smart, capable leader. Those were lies that I thought were true, and those lies kept me really comfortable, and they kept the stakes really, really low, and they kept me from having to take any risk or face any uncertainty. But now I know that's not true. Now I know that there's more inside of me, and I'm capable of more, but it's terrifying. It's terrifying because even though I'm capable of more because I've seen it, I haven't fully stepped into it. I'm not actually there yet. I'm halfway there. I have half realized potential, and I don't know if I'm going to get there. And I don't know if I'm going to be stuck in this halfway place forever. And I don't want to try to get to fully realized potential and then fail and then have to experience the disappointment of thinking that it was possible for me and then hitting a wall and realizing all along maybe I didn't have it in me. So when we're experiencing half-realized potential, in some ways, we are experiencing the worst of both worlds because we have now taken on all of the stakes of what might be possible for us and all of the stakes of knowing that maybe I could reach my full potential, but without any of the actual certainty that that is going to happen. So one way that you can think about unrealized potential, half-realized potential, and realized potential is unrealized potential would be walking through a Las Vegas casino with money in your pocket, but absolutely no intention of gambling. That's unrealized potential. You're not worried about losing money. You're not worried about winning money because you are not going to gamble. Half-realized potential would be you pulling money out of your pocket, putting it into the machine, and you are about to pull the slot machine to see if you've won the jackpot. That is half-realized potential, where we don't yet have the gratification of winning the jackpot. We have all the stress and uncertainty of knowing that maybe we'll win the jackpot, but also knowing that we just put some money on the line and maybe now we have something to lose, right? And then realized potential would be the moment where you hit the jackpot and it goes ding, 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 and the machine is spitting out all of those coins and you get to enjoy the fruits of that risk that you took. So in some ways, half-realized potential, the moment where you've put the money into the machine and you haven't gotten anything out yet, and you don't know if you're going to get anything out, is much harder than the moment before you decided to even gamble. Because before you decided to even gamble, you had nothing to lose. This is why it is so difficult to have made some progress in your confidence building journey, but to have not gotten to the point that you want to get to, because there's uncertainty about the future. And with that uncertainty comes a very real fear of disappointment. And something that I find really interesting is a lot of people ask me, Jess, what are the differences between people who have like a really deep transformation versus people who don't? And basically what they're asking me is, what are the differences between people who realize that full potential and people who don't? And after now working with so many women to help them tap into a deeper ability within themselves, I can tell you with full certainty that the ingredient that helps people get to realized potential is the resilience and the endurance that they bring to the phase of their process where they are in half realized potential. The way that we navigate that uncertainty, the way that we navigate that emotional volatility, the way that we navigate our fears about things potentially not turning out the way that we want, the way that we respond to all of that scariness is often the factor that dictates whether we will cross that finish line and make it to our full potential and actually get to a point where we are happy with our level of self-confidence. We are happy with our level of performance. We feel like we are giving it everything that we truly have. And one thing that's really important as part of this discussion is the idea that there is a constant temptation to revert back into unrealized potential. When we have half realized potential, because it's uncertain, because it's emotionally volatile, right? We're experiencing some wins, but we're experiencing some fails. We have a breakthrough here and there, but then we have a struggle that reminds us that we're not where we want to be yet, right? So because of the emotional volatility, because of the uncertainty of that experience, there is enormous temptation to go back to unrealized potential where there are no stakes and there is no emotional volatility. Because we think to ourselves, wow, this is really uncomfortable. Putting myself out there is really uncomfortable. Sometimes when I share my voice and speak and lead a meeting and step up and take up space, it goes really, really well. And sometimes when I do it, it doesn't go well and it feels really bad. I don't want it to feel bad. I don't want to feel that bad feeling anymore. Let me just never do it so I never have to feel bad anymore. And then we move back into the land of unrealized potential. So it gets us out of that volatility, out of that uncertainty. When we're in the land of unrealized potential, we have certainty. The certainty is that we are going to stay exactly where we are. And even though that's not often our bigger dream or the thing that we want deep inside, our mind prefers certainty. And our mind will often prefer something certain and familiar that is something that we don't actually want, to something that is uncertain and unfamiliar, but represents the thing that we do actually want. We will choose certainty over our dreams very often because uncertainty is incredibly difficult for the human mind to tolerate. And then you combine uncertainty with emotional volatility and all the feelings that you have to feel on the journey of finding your voice. On the journey of finding your voice, no matter how perfect you are, no matter how amazing you are, no matter how dedicated you are, you will feel uncomfortable feelings. You will feel vulnerable. You will have vulnerability hangovers. You will have moments of embarrassment. You will have moments of regret. This is normal. This is part of the process. A lot of times we think we're having these feelings because something is wrong with us. No. Like people who have big confidence and are in big leadership positions can tolerate all of those feelings. That's how they're able to do what they're doing. So these feelings are normal. But when we experience these feelings, because they feel so intense, we might think to ourselves, I don't want to keep trying. I don't want to keep going. I don't want to keep pushing myself and then having to feel these bad feelings. Let me just revert back to the land of unrealized potential. And we might know on some level that we have more inside us. So we might experience dissonance when we revert back into the land of unrealized potential, because now we know it's not really true that we can't do it, but we're just choosing to revert back there because it's a bit more comfortable and we don't have to deal with all that volatility. But there will also be a part of us that will begin to feel restless and begin to feel agitated because we know that there is more for us. So the way I think about it is getting to the land of fully realized potential requires you to endure and stay in the land of half realized potential long enough to have bigger, more significant breakthroughs that lead to lasting, permanent change in how you feel about yourself and how strong and capable you feel internally. And the name of the game is to keep fighting through that phase of half-realized potential until some of the change in how you see yourself and how you feel inside and how you feel about yourself becomes more permanently lodged within you and your personality. And you've probably experienced this in certain areas of your life. You might have had areas of your life where there was a period of volatility where you hadn't yet mastered that situation or that skill, but you stuck with it long enough that eventually your competence in that area became permanent. And you got to a point where you're just not going to struggle with it anymore the way that you used to. And for so many of my clients, a great example of that is some of the things that they used to do at the very beginning of their career that felt ridiculously hard and that felt ridiculously scary that no longer feel hard and scary to them. Well, that's in part because they stuck through that experience long enough for it to start to feel like something that they know how to do, like something that's a part of them. And now, where you are in your career at this moment in time, you just have bigger goals. You have new goals. You have bigger goals that require you to be in that land of half-realized potential once again so that you can permanently break through to that next level of competence and that next level of skill. And that is the work that I am doing with my clients. This is the singular reason why I do longer programs, why I prefer to work with people for longer periods of time, because a longer period of time gives enough time to have bigger breakthroughs that move you from half-realized potential to realized potential. But the name of the game here is to stay in the game of half-realized potential long enough for some of those glimmers of growth and moments of success to become more consistent and more permanent. And of course, like I mentioned, this is challenging. It's challenging to be in that messy middle where we're experiencing some successes and some failures, because while the successes feel really good and exciting, the failures can feel really frustrating and disappointing and jarring. And sometimes it's easier to just not go for it at all and stay in the land of unrealized potential to avoid the intensity of those emotional swings and of those ups and downs. And what I want to do as a continuation to this episode is I want to share with you, and I'm going to do this in the episode that follows, some tips to help you stick it out in the land of half-realized potential, and some tips to help you continue to push forward in your growth process. Because what I have found is that if we have the right tools, the right support, the right perspective, the right approach when we're in the land of half-realized potential, it increases the odds that we will stay in our growth process long enough to experience significant breakthrough. And it is so worth it to keep going, to keep pushing, to keep just putting one foot in front of the other day after day. Because when you get out of that messy middle and you really start to click into a deeper, more permanent level of self-confidence, your entire career and your entire life gets so much better. You experience a lot of internal satisfaction because internally you feel strong, you feel capable, you feel like nothing can stop you. And by the way, the fact that you have had those ups and downs in the land of half-realized potential and you've been in that emotionally volatile, messy middle, that fact alone will make you feel so powerful. Knowing that you endured that, knowing that you got to the other end of that will make you feel so mother effing strong and resilient. And that strength, that resilience, that confidence makes you feel satisfied. It makes you feel proud of yourself. but it also equips you to go after the goals and dreams that matter most to you. It equips you to lead. It equips you to use your voice on a bigger level. It equips you to have the internal sturdiness and confidence necessary to pursue bigger leadership roles and to be responsible for more and to take on more and to be able to handle higher stakes. So when you push through and you don't turn back and you keep on forging ahead in your growth process, you get the internal reward of feeling amazing about yourself and the external reward of bringing your goals to life. And for me personally, this is one of the most satisfying cycles that I have experienced. And I know so many of my clients feel the same way. It feels so good to have a goal that you can't attain because you haven't yet become the version of you who is confident and skilled and powerful enough to attain it. And then to do the inner work to become that person and to stay in the land of half-realized potential long enough to become the person who can make that dream a reality and then to actually make it a reality. It's like you get this double win, this double transformation. You became stronger inside through doing the work, and also the thing that you wanted is now in your reality, whether the thing that you wanted is to have a strong voice in the room, to be in an executive role, to be leading at a higher level, to be really admired by the people around you. But we get that internal reward, the internal transformation, and the external reward, the external transformation. This is why it's worth it to do the work. This is why I love doing this work and I feel so passionately about it. And like I said, I'm going to follow up this episode with some tips and advice to help you stay in your process, to help you keep fighting through on the hard days, and to help you keep putting one foot in front of the other, because truly, that is the one thing that is going to make the difference when it comes to whether or not you accomplish the goals and dreams that matter most to you. I cannot wait to keep digging into this topic. And if this resonated with you, please reach out to me. I will put my email and my contact information in the show notes. And if you want to work with me and you want me to support you in getting out of the land of half-realized potential and realizing your full potential and really sticking with it and doing the inner work that you need to do to get that confidence to click into place and feel more permanent, I would love to help you with that in the Art of Speaking Up Academy. And mark your calendar because applications will open Monday, March 10th. Like I mentioned in the beginning of today's episode, in the Art of Speaking Up Academy, I support you in doing the inner work of building that sturdy, lasting confidence, the inner work of realizing your full potential. And I also offer you the professional development training you need to have a powerful and effective voice and executive presence in the room so that you can maximize your impact as a leader. I am so excited to open applications. I will drop the link to learn more about the Art of Speaking Up Academy in the show notes, and please feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I can't wait to talk more about this, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!